Hey, this is Stacy from Let's Cook, y'all. Welcome back to our channel. If you're new, welcome. We're so glad you're here. We hope you'll enjoy the content on our channel and you'll consider hitting that red subscribe button. We're back with a brand new week of some easy and delicious weeknight meals. We've also got a bonus of a new recipe we tried and a favorite place we went out to eat. We hope you enjoy all the food in this week's What's for Dinner video. For the first meal this week, I prepared an old favorite. This Mexican street corn salad is on constant rotation at our house, especially once I buy a bag of cotija cheese at Kroger. Since there's only two of us here, it does take a while to go through this bag. I follow a recipe from a website that I'll leave a link to, and I use canned corn, red onion, lime juice, mayonnaise, salt, the cotija, and I leave out the cilantro. That's just a personal preference. I do add a little bit of white pepper, and I usually load up on quite a bit of the cotija cheese. That's just a personal preference. If you've never watched here before, you'll find that I'm always tasting and adjusting and adding something else to fit our taste buds, and I suggest that you do the same. I added some more cheese and some more lime juice. To a hot pan on the stove, I add some cold oil. This is some extra virgin olive oil. Then I add some chopped onion and get that sauteing. This is something for Tim, one of his favorites. I start off with a half a pound of ground turkey, which I brown really well. Then I add most of a can of tomato sauce and some brown sugar. I'm not even measuring. I've been making these easy stovetop sloppy joes for so long, I just kind of eyeball it. He likes his with a little bit of mustard, a little bit of ketchup. Since I'm using turkey and not beef, I add quite a bit of Worcestershire sauce and some steak seasoning to help mimic a beef flavor, and finish it off with some sea salt and black pepper. I prefer to simmer my sloppy joes for about 20 or 30 minutes to let the flavors meld. As I said, this is one of Tim's favorite meals. If I can get him to wait 10 or 15 minutes, that usually works. Sort of a trifecta meal, one that I can make kind of blindfolded, that usually spurs me to get back into a cooking when I'm in a rut. It's also the second thing, Tim loves it, and the third thing, it's a great use of leftover hamburger buns because we never used the package of 8 buns. So I've made some sloppy joes. Tim wanted his Wickles pickles on his, and we have, I think I got these free from Bovada probably last year, and they've got a date, goes out pretty soon. They kept getting rotated to the back. Some Pringles, and I made some corn salad. I am working on my portion, so I'm skipping the bun and gonna have some cucumber in addition to that. So really easy fallback meal for us. Sloppy joes, chips, and corn salad is what's for dinner today. Apparently I'm wishing it's Christmas in July. We had a quote unquote cool day, which means it was only in the upper 80s, so I decided to do a pasta bake. I got some water boiling on the stove, added copious amounts of salt, and cooked some penne pasta. Then I browned off some ground meat and added a bunch of seasonings, along with some diced onions and some halved canned mushrooms. I did spice it up a little with some red chili flakes and some garlic, and then poured in the sauce. For the cheesy layer, I started off with 1 beaten egg, and then I sort of eyeballed it. I did take a recipe and cut it in half, which I often do because there's just 2 of us. So I put in about a half a container of ricotta, a bunch of shredded mozzarella, and the recipe called for Parmesan. I just happened to have the shaved. The original recipe didn't call for any additional seasonings, which I always find very odd, so I added some Italian seasoning and some pepper, and then once the cheese mixture was mixed together, I added the pasta, and then I started layering a layer of the meat sauce on the bottom, and then some of the pasta and cheese mixture, and repeated that until we filled it all up. I will leave a link to this recipe that I did cut in half. You end with the meat mixture on top, and then we cover it with foil. The original recipe calls for it to bake at 350 for about 40 minutes. I think mine probably only took about 30. I did check it, make sure it was heated all the way through, and then put the rest of the mozzarella on top. Put it back for the cheese to melt and brown, and then we let it sit for a few minutes to set. It's kind of more of a winter thing, but I had some ricotta to use, so we have done a
ziti bake with penne. Got some garlic toast bread and a salad. Italian is not really our thing, but we're going that way today. Pasta, bread, and salad is what's for dinner today.
For tonight's meal, I'm going to go two ways. This is another one of those things where I fix one thing for me, which the tofu is for me, and one thing for Tim. I'm by no means an expert. This is probably only my third or fourth time to try tofu, but I do always try to press it. I take it out and put it between paper towels and then weight it down with a cast iron skillet. I had some broccoli, carrots, and some onion in my crisper drawer. If I'd had bell peppers for Tim or sugar snap peas or snow peas, I would have added those. We bought this bag of beef bulgogi fried rice with kimchi when we went to Trader Joe's back in May, and so this is our chance to try this. This is my big red wok so many of you have asked about that sadly I can no longer find to link you guys to, but I really love it. I also have this really small wok that I put some oil in and some garlic and ginger and the vegetables, and the kimchi fried rice was in the big wok. So I'll give you motion sickness right up here and pick up the camera and show you 2-3 things going at one time. That's the way we cook around here. When the vegetables were just about sauteed, I added some bottled teriyaki. I often make my own, but these days I'm finding motivation to cook and come up with new recipes and ideas is lacking, so I'll just go with what we've got.
Today's dinner is quick, courtesy of mostly Trader Joe's, and we are eating in shifts today. I dropped the ball, did not get my tofu pressed in time, so Tim's going to eat first. We got this bag of Trader Joe's bulgogi beef fried rice with kimchi for him to try. I took the fresh vegetables I had. If I'd had sugar snap peas or snow peas, I would have added them, but I did broccoli, carrots, and onion with a little teriyaki. Threw some store-bought frozen egg rolls in the air fryer. Bulgogi fried rice, vegetables, and egg rolls is what's for dinner today. I will show you my tofu. I'm going to mix up a marinade, and once it's pressed, I will probably do it in the air fryer. You can also bake it or do it in a skillet. Chinese, Korean is what's for dinner today.
I think tofu is probably the blankest palette in the food world, but I wanted to go really simple. I knew Tim wouldn't eat this, and I don't need a lot of spice or seasoning, so I just mixed up some oil and soy sauce, or in my case I used liquid aminos. I took the block of pressed tofu, dried it out as much as I could, and then cubed it, tossed it with the oil and soy sauce mixture, and then with some cornstarch to help it stick and give it a little bit of more of a crispy coat. I took my oil sprayer and sprayed the basket of my air fryer and tried to spread these out as much as possible so that they weren't overlapping and touching. While the tofu was cooking, I decided to mix up another sauce or marinade. I originally thought I would dip this in it, but I think I ended up deciding to just toss it with it. I mixed some hoisin, which is a Chinese version of a barbecue sauce, some rice wine vinegar, some liquid aminos or soy sauce. I first thought I would use the same refrigerated garlic and ginger that I used in the vegetables, but I decided to use dried. I tasted it and adjusted as I went along. Halfway through, I flipped it, tossed it around. 15-16 minutes later, it was crispy enough to me, so I put it in a bowl. It was pretty clean. I'd sprayed it really well and then tossed it with the hoisin marinade that I had made for crispy tofu. Tim had already eaten. The tofu was all mine, and he had left me a fair amount of the bulgogi fried rice to try. It was good. It was not spicy at all, so I was very happy to get some Chinese.
This is Stacy's charcuterie board, which is absolutely splendid.
Is it Tim's charcuterie board?
No, this is Stacy's. And Tim's just here to help with it.
Okay.
Little crackers, little cheese.
It's pastrami and roast beef. There's meat on here for you, and there's fruit and cheese for me. And pepperoni.
Okay,
And
that'll
olives.
work.
That's what's for dinner today. It's easy in the summer. We don't have to heat up the kitchen.
And I'd forgot to get it out. I had this, I guess it's Cara Mia brand. I bought this at Walmart. This artichoke bruschetta was delicious, and now, of course, I can't find it again. But I enjoyed charcuterie night. Do y'all have it at your house?
We don't show breakfast very often because we tend to eat the same things. Tim's either in a cereal kick or an egg kick, but he kind of went off the rails today. He made himself just a cheese omelet. Cheese omelet. He's got the last of some biscuits, sausage, and if y'all know him, he always has cheese with his cereal or his eggs. So that's Tim's breakfast today.
If you've watched here for any length of time, you've already picked up that Chinese is my favorite food. We'd not been in a Chinese restaurant probably since late 2019. One of the buffets near us opened, not our favorite sit-down menu-oriented place, but beggars can't be choosers. Tim was sweet enough to take me. I started off with sushi, egg drop soup. He went right for the whole buffet and got a big plate. I ate more than he did. I went back and got my own large plate and polished that off too. It was delicious. I enjoyed it more than words can say. Thank you, sweetheart, for taking me.
Today I'm trying something new. I'll leave a link to the recipe. It's from the Skinny Taste website for bagels. I think a lot of people do these 2-ingredient things with self-rising flour and yogurt, but I do actually have self-rising flour. Her recipe calls for 1 cup of regular flour, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 3/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 cup of non-fat plain Greek yogurt, and either an egg or an egg white. I'm going to go ahead and use the whole egg and top it with some everything but the bagel seasoning. And we're going to try these in the air fryer and see if this is a win, a flop, a fail, a flop, or somewhere in the middle.
I'm the first to admit that even though I love to bake, I am not the world's best baker. I know certain things like biscuits, scones, and probably even these bagels, which I've never tried to make homemade bagels before. There's probably a certain feel to them. I didn't know if this dough was supposed to be overly sticky or overly dry, so I kept adding flour to it until it wasn't really sticking to my hands. I may have overworked the dough. This did turn out good. They probably would have been a little lighter if I hadn't worked the dough so much. I cut each batch into 4 pieces and rolled them out into long ropes, and then I turned the ropes into a round bagel shape form.
I'm going to preheat it to 280. I didn't even know my air fryer went this low, but it does. The recipe says 280, and it also has oven directions. It says to coat both sides with the egg wash and the seasoning. I'm going to do 2 of them with the everything but the bagel. Tim's not a fan of that, so I'll leave 2 of them plain. And I am switching over to my piece of wax paper in case these do come out. I may make a second batch. And I didn't want to put the egg wash on my mat that I used to roll them out on. Her recipe says to not crowd them, and she actually had a little video. She only put 2 at a time in a basket air fryer. So if I'm doing 4 or if I double this for 8, it probably is more efficient to turn on the oven and do them all at one time rather than doing them in 2 or 4 batches, but we shall see. This is something new I wanted to try. The recipe says to cook for 15 to 16 minutes or until golden brown at 280 and then let rest for 15 minutes. So it'll be about 30 minutes before we can try them. They weren't brown, so I'll put them back for 2 more minutes and we'll check them again. They weren't quite done looking. This is what they look out like after 17 minutes. It said to let them rest, but I am going to do another batch, so I'm going to take these out, put them on a wire rack and let them cool and start the second batch, and then in about 15 minutes we'll taste them and leave a comment with a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Have a wonderful and truly blessed day.